The story of Kenny Jr. This is a deer that last year I elected to pass whenever I was hunting my other deer that I killed out of the same stand. I saw him a couple times. We had a lot of pictures of him. Thought he was probably a 4.5, maybe 3.5-year-old deer last year, but he knew he could have some potential to really blow up. Coming into this year, really was mainly targeting one buck that we called Baby Booner down in South Georgia, and didn't really have eyes on for anything else other than that deer. We had pictures of him in velvet and knew he was going to be like around 160 inches, and that was my target buck. So I didn't really have anything else. I was zoned in on Baby Booner, and when I started putting cameras out and season came around, Baby Booner just turned up and disappeared. Don't know where he went. So I started kind of switching to plan B, plan C, and bad thing for Kenny Jr. is he was plan B, and it was a pretty quick plan B. Threw a camera up on the same exact stand area where I'd killed my deer last year, and Kenny Jr. was one of the first deer to pop up. And I knew that he was a cool deer, and he was probably a 5.5-year-old deer, and he had stickers all over the place. I was like, well, we'll give him a go since Baby Booner's not hanging out. And so this stand is in a really unique place. It's in the back corner of the property. Nobody really hunts it. I'm the only one that kind of hunts it. And I take my stand out every year. It's in this big white oak tree. And this time I left my ladder up, and so I snuck down in there when I thought I had a good wind. And I had a great hunt, let me tell you. I saw a really pretty 9-pointer, probably a 3.5, 4.5-year-old deer, real heavy, real tight rack. Going to be a cool looking deer in a couple years. Saw a ton of does. For some reason or another, there are more does on this one food plot than anywhere else. It's just a clover food plot that we have established that we just fertilize every year. And never saw him the first hunt. The second hunt, never saw him. I saw 15 does without seeing one buck, and was kind of like, man, what in the world? Because I don't like to pressure this area much, because you spook deer getting out every time. That's just the way it is. And so you only have a certain many times you can hunt down there before a mature buck's going to realize, all right, I'm being hunted. So I kind of let it lay for a little while. The first weekend of rifle season comes in, and I'm like, he's probably going to get shot on the neighbor's property. And turns up, he's still hanging around, getting very consistent. He shows up the afternoon before in daylight. And so I'm like, all right, game on. This morning, so at a camera near where I'm going to be sitting, so we know he's going to be close by. He was there till about 7:45, 8 o'clock, and he showed up on my stand a few times. I've just kind of been playing cat and mouse with him, hunting him on the right wind. This will be my third sit in there after him. So mouse game that I enjoy. It reminds me a lot of fishing. You know, you never know what's going to happen, and it's a lot of thinking, a lot of patience, and everything goes into bow hunting mature whitetails. So I'm excited to get to chase good deer, showing up on camera. So these days kind of run together on this stand for a reason. So we'll see. Fingers crossed we get it done tonight on Kenny Jr. Y'all stay tuned. Slip back in there the next day, get in there early, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching a couple other does walk around, and a couple other bucks kind of milling around in the food plot. It's not quite pre-rut a little bit yet. They're maybe making some scrapes, a couple rubs. And then I look down to my left, and there's Kenny Jr. standing right there at 15 yards. Don't know where he came from. He just appeared. I'd been hearing a squirrel to my left in this real thick, probably 3 or 4 year old pines the whole time. So all I can figure is the squirrel moved, and then me thinking that the squirrel was still making noise, and he slipped in that same trail. And I stood up, I could have shot him at 15 yards right there, but my camera arm was just below at my waistline, and I couldn't see through this white oak limb with all the green leaves on it. So I was like, well, I definitely want to get him on film, especially as close as he is, and all he's going to do is keep feeding out into the food plot. I had some 4S draw out in front of me, and the does were kind of on it. I was like, well, he's going to go right to that, be 20 to 30 yards broadside, and I'll be able to shoot him. Little did I know that a doe was going to come running down the food plot. I don't know if another buck chased her off or just charged her a little bit. She went running. Well, she came running down through the food plot with her tail between her legs. And when she did, the other does in the food plot kind of got a little spooky and just ran to the edge of the woods. Well, she dove off in the woods. And what do you know? Kenny Jr. went from eating clover in the food plot, head up, saw her, thought she was getting chased by a doe is all I can figure, and went in right after her. And I could hear him chasing off in the woods, and I'm like, well, I just blew my opportunity. I should have shot him right there and just shouldn't have cared about the camera. And I was texting my buddies, and I was like, yep, I just blew my shot on Kenny Jr. I was like, he's gonna be where I walk out. He's gonna see me walking out, and it'll be over. He'll be on a different side of the farm tomorrow. And luckily, the does start feeding back out, and they start looking in the woods where he had run off. And I throw up my binoculars, and all I see is a rack, and I'm like, well, it's got to be him. And so I turned the camera on, and it was pretty cool. Him coming through some dog fennel next to some planted pines, come right back in. Well, when I reached for my bow, I did not consider the does that were still in the food plot. And they're all within about 30 yards. Well, you always have that one doe that is just going to booger you, that just is out to screw up your hunt every time. And when I reached for my bow, it was enough movement that she saw me, but I was thick enough in the white oak that she didn't know where I was. So she was just looking. And she kind of started getting on edge. When she turned away one time, I switched to my draw hand, and I'm like, she's going to blow out of here at any minute. So he was quartered a little more than I kind of had wanted him to be, because he had no idea. He was just feeding in that 4S draw like it was nobody's business. And so I drew with her looking at me, and it was one of those things where you kind of got to draw, and you know that if she blows, he's going to probably throw his head up, and then you better be on that deer within seconds, because he's going to bail out of there. Just smoked Kenny Jr. He didn't run 20 yards and piled up dead. Alright, we just got it done. It's our third sit after that deer. We call Kenny Jr. He's got a big split G3. And he came in earlier, and a doe came running down the food plot, and I guess he thought she was getting chased or something, and he followed her off into the woods. So I thought it wasn't going to happen. I had him at 15 yards, but limbs were in the way. I couldn't get the shot, and then he came back out, luckily, and gave me another opportunity. I thought the shot was a little high. he ran 20 yards and he's laying dead right over there. So pretty awesome, great way to start the year. Super excited. This is a really old deer. I passed him up last year. I think he's 5.5 or 6.5. So anytime you can kill a mature buck in Georgia, especially with a bow, it's a cool thing. So really excited. Y'all, we're gonna go give him about 20 minutes. He's dead, but let it get dark and go pick up the guy I'm hunting with and go retrieve him up. So y'all stay tuned. How to get all my gear. There he is, right here. Told you he didn't make it far. Look how long his main beams are.
The main beams are pretty old too, I think.
Well, shoot, I passed him last year. How about that? I didn't even see he's got a G5 on that side. That's awesome. All right, we got it done on Kenny Jr. tonight. Been after this deer all year. Been hunting the right wind. I think this is my third hunt for him, so really cool to finally get him on the ground. I passed this deer last year. I'd already killed a good deer, so elected to pass him. We think this deer's 5.5 or 6.5 years old, so great Georgia buck. Now I got one more tag to fill in Georgia, but we're headed to Kansas here soon. So more deer hopefully be dying this year. Thank y'all for watching. So I can't thank the landowner enough. I've done a lot of work with him and I've hunted with him a lot over the years, and he treats me very good, and I'm very blessed to be able to hunt his property. And that's the second deer in 2 years over 140 that I've killed out of that stand. So it's a special stand, and I'm looking forward to hunting it more in the future. And we've got a lot of pretty good deer up there, and I'm looking forward to getting a shot at another 140, 150 inch deer next year. But the story of Kenny Jr., it's always fun when you pass one up and end up getting to kill him the next year. You know, that's just a part of conservation, and it ended up paying off for me.